We got to be able to awaken people's minds to the game that our government is playing on us. You've all heard of the company BlackRock, which is the largest company in the world that manages over $9 trillion. This company, amongst others, are buying up single-family homes. The homes that BlackRock has been purchasing are being set up to house illegal migrants. New York just declared that they're going to pay homeowners there $125 a day to house a migrant. Each home will average bringing in $15,000 per month to house illegals. The United States government is using BlackRock to permanently house all the illegal immigrants they've been letting in. You got to connect the dots. You can't say that you're against billionaires and BlackRock and all these big companies and at the same time vote for the people that are enabling them.
90% of the people are voting with emotions. They've never had anyone really sit them down and put up simple numbers without going over their head and show what they're voting against and what they're voting for.
Well, you can't say that you're against the military-industrial complex and then get your heartstrings pulled to go to war with Ukraine and go to war again in Gaza. You got to step back out of your feelings for a minute and be like, wait, my heart and body and mind say that I'm against the military-industrial complex.
But I'm voting for wars.
But I'm voting for war. I support Ukraine and I support Israel or I support Palestine in my profile picture. You're a walking contradiction. Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and today we have Leadership in Review. If this is your first time tuning in, we have two different formats of the show. One is typically a leader-to-leader conversation that I'm having with another entrepreneur or leader in the community that we're trying to get as much impact and value from their genius as possible to give back to you, the audience. Today, we got the greatest man alive in the studio, Emmanuel Whitfield.
I'm a little thrown off right now because I can't see this beautiful mug up on the monitor. So I'm so thrown off.
You're used to just looking at yourself on the screen. See, there you are. So at least you got it up.
We're
now.
Back now. I get to see that beautiful smile. Hey, buddy.
You know, your shirt today is kind of like a green screen.
I'm trying to, and I'm promoting money today. So. Speaking of money, though, first of all, I know we got to get into our cigars. So you got to tell me what I'm smoking. I know it's a David.
Yeah. So you fell in love with the cigar I gave you by the Tabernacle called the David.
Yeah.
And I have an Untold Story by Arturo Fuente. It's a great long smoke.
He's got a Hemingway too, doesn't he? This
is the Hemingway Untold Story. So the Hemingway typical one's a little bit shorter.
Speaking of Untold Story, I ran into a guy at the cigar room last week, and he had like a $20,000 cigar collection burnt up, the whole collection burnt up. So he went to the insurance company. They had to pay him out. So they had to do some background checking and everything to see what happened to the cigars. They said, so how did all the cigars burn up? He said, I smoked them.
That's the joke you're starting with?
But then they turned around and charged him with arson, but that was the first joke.
Man, I knew this wasn't going to be a real story as soon as you started on it too.
No, but talking about real stories, Caitlyn Jenner is suing Bruce Jenner for touching her in the bathroom 10 years ago. That's the Me Too movement.
Where do you get these jokes?
I don't know, cigar bars.
Cigar bar. You're spending a lot of time in the tasting room getting some bad jokes. I'm going to say, mediocre jokes.
She probably would win, though.
She probably would.
Bruce would be getting
just depending on the judge.
That's true.
Depending on the political slant of the judge, which is unfortunate. All right. But in these episodes, now that we're done joking around for a bit with mediocre jokes, in these episodes, we address leadership in politics, leadership going on in the world, usually the lack of. But today's topics, what you're going to find is a new take on immigration. We're going to talk a little bit about presidential election. We're going to talk about, actually, just today came down that the first parents ever sentenced for a school shooting that their child committed was handed down today. So we're going to get into a little discussion there. And as you guys know with these conversations, Emmanuel and I might be all over the board. But the point is that we're going to have contentious conversations and show you all how to do it to make sure you still come out friends and that we can communicate about contentious topics. And we should be talking about contentious topics. All right. So that being said, we're going to start with this shooting. So the Crumbly case. So this, for those of you not aware, their son committed this shooting in the end of 2021. And he killed 4 students at a Michigan high school. And these parents today were just sentenced to 10 to 15 years in prison. This is the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah.
So this sentence comes down today. What are your initial thoughts?
I think with power comes major responsibility. I think as a gun owner, your gun should be safe and secure. I don't think there's no room for any lapse to say, oh, I left it under the bed for 20 seconds when you have kids around. I think it's just a major responsibility. That goes for guns. I don't want to say pit bulls, but like vicious dogs that if they're not trained right, I think there's a responsibility that comes along with ownership of something that could kill another person. And hey, if they got sentenced for that, I think that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So first of all, there's a lot of gun control advocates out there that are probably, I don't know if they're applauding today. I haven't seen much of the reaction. I've been too busy to check the reaction out. Yeah. But it's interesting. I actually agree with you as a gun owner. Now, for those of you that don't know, Emmanuel has served his debt to society as a convicted felon. Shouldn't have been a felon on the national level, but
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And I'll never be a gun owner.
You served your time and you'll never be a gun owner. So
I don't have to worry about my kids finding my gun because I won't have one.
Yeah.
So.
And he's held to that standard since
1993.
1993.
Yeah.
So 30 plus years. So for me, though, I am a gun owner and a responsible one at that. And so it's interesting. I actually feel pretty much the way you do. Yeah. I think that it is a responsibility and that the parents continued to make excuses rather than ownership. And I think it actually made their case worse.
Especially knowing that this kid had mental issues. That's even worse to me. I could kind of sympathize if you had a responsible 18-year-old or something like that wanted to go hunting or something like that. But you got a kid that's in and out of the shrink all the time. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, no. So
mental issues are typically the cause of these mass shootings. Mm-hmm. Now, there is conspiracy out there, maybe called theory, or maybe it's just a conspiracy. And that the CIA or our 3-letter agencies are brainwashing some of our youth or troubled minds to commit these acts of violence. Yeah. But we're going to say allegedly. There are some legs to that with some of the experiments the CIA has done in the past that are documented. But we won't get into that so much today. What I want to get into with it, though, is mental illness is not being treated in our country. We used to have psych wards filled with people, and the population of those psych wards has gone down and down and down to the degree that almost every shooter, the last 6 shooters of mass shootings, have been transgender.
They have erased mental illness. It's like a lost generation. They used to put more emphasis on the mentally ill. Now they reward mental illness by letting you become the Surgeon General when you're confused about who you are, but you're giving advice to people about health reasons and health issues. So I see this new generation of politics and politicians rewarding mental illness and trying to encourage kids that it's normal to have a mental illness. We'll just switch the rules around, let you play with the girls or let you use this bathroom and not focus on the problem at hand. So I don't get it. I mean,
because it serves their purpose, right? The politicians want gun control.
Yeah.
So why would they fix the problem?
I don't think they want gun control. They do want gun control. I think they want total control. And gun control is part of it.
You can't have total control if you have a citizen population.
So they want to get the guns out first. Yes. Then they want to get the bank account second. And then, I mean, it's like a cult. We might as well drink the Kool-Aid. It's like Jim Jones' cult nowadays. You see people, it's all about the messenger and not the message. So
the problem is that for those of you, whether you believe in gun control or completely, the Second Amendment and nothing being out there. I think there's a middle ground to be found. Now, what's interesting is every single gun I've ever bought, I've gone the legal route.
Yeah.
So what's always interesting to me is to talk to someone that's a gun control advocate and be like, so where do criminals get their guns?
They're not gun control advocates. They're gun control hypocrites, because it only matters when it's newsworthy, because you can go in the inner city every weekend, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people can be shot and there's not a word out of it. It's just.
Well, and they count those in mass shootings too, right?
Yeah.
So they don't count, like if you go to a white suburban school, like that Christian school that got shot up in Tennessee, that's all over the news until they found out it was a transgender kid that did it.
Yeah.
And then they shut it down.
Oh, you can't even get any information.
But a mass shooting on Chicago where there's 46 murders on a weekend or 46 shootings and 20 are dead, they don't report on that, but they call it a mass shooting. They count it in the numbers to glorify their point.
Yeah.
So, but the point is whether they're an advocate or a hypocrite or however you want to call it, I always ask, because I know you and we've had this conversation, if you can't buy a gun legally like I can, because of your record.
Right.
But if you wanted a gun tonight, where would you go and get it?
I go straight to the hood. I can get a gun in 30 minutes. I can pop back up here with a gun if I was crazy enough. But
that's my point though, is like, if you make a law that no one can own guns,
it's just going to be more illegal guns.
More illegal guns. Exactly.
I mean, it's just like the drug game. If you can't buy an illicit drug on the legal market, they're even I guess the remedy to that was getting dispensaries and stuff like that to make it legal, so that it's knocking out the illegal drug trade. So, like you say, the gun control is just going to make it even worse. And I don't know what people are thinking nowadays. And another thing, I just thought about how controlling and people watching out, we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we are Americans. But I just look at how I saw one of the worst cases for racial biasness from these police in Mobile, Alabama. Sodomized some young black men, shot them in the face. And you won't hear a peep out of BLM because it's the Biden presidency. If Trump was in office, black people would be in.
I didn't even hear this. Were the officers?
That's right. Yeah, it was. They called it Goon Squad. It was like 5 white officers. One of the biggest civil rights cases ever in Mobile, Alabama. But when
did it happen?
It was about 5-6 months ago.
I didn't even hear.
You won't hear about it because it's the Biden's administration.
And that's awful.
Yeah, and just think about this: COVID just magically disappears until about right around time when people have to get out and vote. You don't hear anything about COVID. You haven't heard one peep from BLM since Biden's been in office. So it just shows you how controlling the media is, and the Democratic Party are very controlling. They have black people under a spell. Don't march until we say everything is A-OK right now. If Trump wins, it's going to be the rise of Black Lives Matter. COVID is going to be rampant. It's just amazing. Like, you never heard of this story. We can pull it up. Mobile, Alabama. It's Montgomery or Mobile. It's one of the worst. I mean, the cops came in, framed the guy, shot him in the face, raped the guy. These cops raped these dudes, and you haven't heard nothing about it. Nothing about it. Isn't that crazy?
It sounds like some Pulp Fiction.
You can pull it up. It's dead serious. So,
and that's awful.
Yeah, but you won't hear about it. It's so controlled.
So, and you're right. The thing I want to also say, right? So I'm a Second Amendment believer.
Yeah.
And believe in our rights, because it's when they say, oh, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. I was like, you're dang right I don't.
Yeah.
I need an AR-15 to protect from tyranny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an anti-tyranny gun.
You really need one nowadays.
So the point is that they try and bring up these red herrings or whatever you want to call them. But they're just talking points fed to them by the media because they actually don't know what they're talking about. And I also want to say, and I empathize with the parents of all these kids that have lost their lives. Yeah. Be it in the hood or be it in these schools.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about on here before because, as a parent, both of us being parents, like the worst thing imaginable is losing your child.
Yeah.
To anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's cancer, gun violence, whatever. That is the worst nightmare for a parent.
That's true.
That being said, this is a world that we live in that cancer does happen.
Yeah.
That shootings do happen.
Yeah.
And we got to talk about real solutions like giving our veterans a purpose.
Yeah.
And having armed officers at our school to protect our schools. We got armed officers that protect our government buildings, that protect these corrupt politicians, but we won't protect our kids with guns.
You know the funniest part about this gun control stuff? It started way back in slavery days when blacks first started getting their rights. The main thing they wanted was to make sure that blacks couldn't vote, read, or bear arms. And the same black people that vote for these Democrats that want all of this gun control, it's a wink, wink, dog whistle to other pretty much white Democrats to say, we got these black folks in order. They don't even know. We really want these banned weapons so they don't possess guns. You know, that's one of the main things they don't want. But like when the Black Panthers started arming themselves, the Democrats' main thing was to get arms out of black communities that are legal guns. And then they flooded with illegal guns. It's a tangled web they weave. It's a wicked game they play, but they are spin masters. They are the masters. And this is not a dump on Democrats, because it's a lot of Republicans that sit back and hang out with the Democrats and make these same laws.
Uniparty.
Yeah, it's the uniparty. So me and Josh will always say, we do not subscribe to the uniparty. They're all in the same cahoots. So.
And by the way, you don't have to subscribe either. You can sit it out. You have that. You have that choice.
You had 30 years to cancel that subscription, or they'll keep reing you up on that. Keep signing you up for that subscription if you don't get
they
off
will
of that.
take your vote and then stab you in the back, gladly, and smile at the cigar bar or smile on the golf course and talk about how stupid you are for voting for them.
So is there any good stuff in America? Any good stories? We don't want to be all doom and gloom.
No, we'll talk through. We actually want to talk through one positive leadership thing going on right now as well. To close a loop on this, though, we both are in agreement that the parents should be charged in this case. Now, this case had a very unique and specific set of circumstances, like Emmanuel talked about, with the kid being in and out of mental care, the parents showing little to no remorse in ownership of any sort of action.
Didn't they try to cover some things up at the end too?
I don't know all the facts. It sure sounds like it. But the point being is, this doesn't mean that every parent should be charged because of a kid going off the reservation like that.
Yeah.
I hope that it doesn't set a precedent like that where there's this, over swinging of the pendulum that often happens.
But it sounded like they aided and abetted him. It sounded like they were pretty much a party to the crime. So that's
as
a lot
much
different.
as you could be without being entirely in it. They didn't drive the getaway car, but they pretty much facilitated the transgressions. So it seems like this is probably the right decision by that judge and that jury. And at the same time, we feel awful for those parents that have lost their loved ones. And at the same time, we have to preserve our Second Amendment rights, because it's not our fellow citizens that we're protecting against. Although there are times that, and you'll notice that the news never talks about when a good guy with a gun or good woman with a gun protects other people from a bad guy with a gun.
You probably get arrested if you do that. They arrest heroes.
Depends on what state.
If you grab a guy on the subway and hold him till the cops get there and you choke him out, you're going to jail. So
that's in New York City. Yeah. Don't be a good guy in New York City. You'll get arrested. But speaking of New York City and the state of New York as a whole, let me pull up something. You guys, I want to bring up to your attention. So we talked about immigration last time. We're going to talk about it a little bit this time as well, or maybe a lot of it. We'll see where the conversation goes. But I just want you all to remember, I want you to string two things together, okay? So you've all heard of the company BlackRock, which is the largest company in the world that manages over $9 trillion. That's trillion with a capital T.
Do they buy a lot of property?
Yes, that's what I'm getting to. Yeah. So you've probably also been aware of the housing market and lack of houses. Maybe you are aware, maybe you're not, but this company BlackRock, amongst others, are buying up single family homes
I want to hear some numbers
throughout the country. And I don't have the exact numbers of what percentage or how much, but that's also driving the prices up, which is forcing the middle class out.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the broader strategy. So I want to string some things together for you guys. So I'm going to read something real quick. The homes that BlackRock has been purchasing, which is also a huge amount in New York, are being set up to house illegal migrants. Each home will average bringing in $15,000 per month to house illegals.
I'm happy about that.
No, hold on. Well, we're not in the state of New York, so it's not paying for. We're not being hurt by this. But let me hear this out. I'm happy
about it, though.
Hear this out. So each home will average bringing in $15,000 per month to house illegals. New York just declared that they're going to pay homeowners their $125 a day to house a migrant. $125 a day per migrant per bedroom. And at $3,750 per migrant, that means that property would now be bringing in $15,000 a month. So the basic gist is that the United States government is using BlackRock to permanently house all the illegal immigrants they've been letting in. So you know how companies like BlackRock have been buying up large amounts of single-family real estate? This is why. It's been part of the bigger plan. So
that's great news for me. I'm seriously
so you have to think so far in Biden's presidency.
Yeah,
we got anywhere from 12 million to 22 million immigrants that have come to this country.
That's beautiful.
Which is essentially the great replacement theory.
That's right? So great.
So think, but no, I don't know if you keep saying it's great because
no, it's great because I think it's the best thing that ever happened to, especially the black community. This is perfect for the black community because they voted for this. And once it start hitting the little bit elite group of people that's a little above middle class, once they feel it, they won't be all hunky-dory about open borders. See, it caught the black community, but once it keeps getting up a little higher where these college grads can't get houses and stuff, I want open borders. Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing this to your attention.
So they need it. They needed to get hit right where in their pockets.
So you say it's a good thing. Well, I'm saying
I'm not literally saying it's a good thing. It's a good thing to wake people up. Sometimes you have to burn down the building before you can rebuild because you can, Trump could get in office and politicians can get in office and they can talk over and over. But until it hits you, until it hits home, look at the black community. What's the first thing? Oh, we tired of these open borders. They're getting all of this money. No, you needed that. You needed to get punched in the face. Now you're waking up. And now middle class America, all of these people who root for open borders, when they start losing tech jobs and stuff like that, that's when, imagine all of these liberals at Epic, all the people that want all of these liberal ideas. If Epic started laying people off, they would see what the real world sees. I watched Mayor Adams in New York. You can't have it both ways. See, you can get on TV and you can talk. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So he was on the Breakfast Club the other day trying to send out a dual message. He said, oh, crime is down in New York. So some lady challenged him and said, so why are you hiring the National Guards to ride the subway? So now you have to face the truth. So he was in an internal battle to say, either I tell this lady who's challenging me, no, crime is really bad, but he wants to go and put it out there like crime is going down. It's the lowest ever. No, it's not. It's really bad. So you can send out a message, but reality starts to set in. And at the end of the day, open borders are going to catch up to middle class America. It's called Black America, and they will start voting different. I guarantee you Chicago will vote different this time. New York will vote different this time because you don't know what fire feels like until you stick your hand into a flame. And that's that. I
hope you're right, because I hope it's not too much, because that they're going to fast track the legalization of all these people to get them as voters.
Doesn't bother me at all. If Joe Biden won again, you get insanity is when you keep doing the same thing over and over and over. If they want, if they can trick themselves because it's the messenger and not the message. If they continue to like these high grocery prices and high gas prices, more power to you. More power to you. I'm gonna be okay. I can come borrow some eggs from you. I'll be all right.
But a lot of our brothers and sisters won't.
Sometimes,
so they got to wake up.
Sometimes they need that spanking, Sometimes you got to fall on hard times, At least it'll wake you up, man. You just don't know what's on the other side of a hill until you get over there and you see what's over there. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party have been just lying to the general public of America for year after year after year. It's time for some action. And that's on both sides, you know. Republicans, they go out and vote for Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham every year, year after year after year. These are rhinos. Republicans in name only, never Trumpers.
Just enriching themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those are all the people we need to get out and fast. So think about this, y'all. If you're a Democrat listening to this, you got to really think about this. The very thing that you say you're against, these large, rich, don't pay enough in tax billionaires that represent BlackRock, buy up all these houses. They either had a tip from an insider. Like, how would they have known to buy up all these single family houses ahead of time that all these migrants are going to get put into, where they're going to make $15,000 per month per house?
Yeah. That's
off the U.S. taxpayer dime.
It's reset.
And you don't have to worry about, think about this. So what's the risk of being a landlord?
Not non-payment.
Non-payment.
Yeah.
Do you have to worry about the U.S. government not paying you?
That is perfectly, it's guaranteed money.
It's guaranteed money. So you got the richest company in the world.
And you got the best insurance. If someone
buying up houses that's pushing down the middle class or pushing people out of the middle class, they can't get their own house, putting illegals into it, and they're profiting to the tune of $15,000 per house.
It's the Great Reset. It's the Great Reset. And blacks are going to catch it the worst. Blacks are being replaced. Brown is the new black, and black is going to be the new transparent, because the blacks are just going to be pushed off of a cliff. And it is what it is, man. Sometimes you ask for it, you get it. Yeah, it's the new reset, man. It is crazy. And who can compete with BlackRock? They got unlimited money. You're not going to outbid them on a house. They can overbid. It's not going to cost them because they get it on the back end. They can do whatever they want.
Well, not only could they, but they also knew they were going to get this money.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
so
inside
that's what I'm saying.
trading.
I couldn't even think of another way that they would have known to get these houses.
Well,
there wasn't a genius investment strategy that someone just came up with. They knew what was going to happen.
Inside tips. If you were to tell me, hey, we're going to put a Starbucks right around the hill, they got some open property. It's going to be some property that you can build on and go pick that up. I'm going to go pick it up. It's inside trading. You know, they had the tip on that a long time ago. They're in cahoots, you know, a favor for a favor. I mean, a lot of you guys out there don't understand. Other than Donald Trump, these presidents are players. They work for a company. They work for a team. They're not calling the shots. They're controlled. That goes back to the days of Kennedy. If you don't think Hoover had so much dirt on Kennedy, I mean, just think about it. Hoover told JFK, go get Lyndon B. Johnson, who JFK and Bobby hated. They despise this man, but Hoover said, you got to go make him vice president because I got you screwing Marilyn Monroe and Lord knows who else. I got you blackmailed. He had Malcolm X blackmail. I mean, he didn't have Malcolm. He had Martin blackmail. So it's just a deep game that a lot of people don't understand. And Trump is like the only one that won't play ball. Obama was compromised. Every other president was compromised. That's why the Antichrist is Donald Trump. They have to get rid of Donald Trump.
The Antichrist to them.
Exactly.
And they're pitching that to Democrats. Like, you got some Democrats, I follow these pages. It's crazy. Y'all are so brainwashed, it's hilarious. Like, this derangement syndrome is real.
It's bad.
Like, it is crazy to see, like, it's negative. I was like, how do y'all live that negative? To look at those pages, like, how do you seriously, like, you're that hateful of one dude?
You know when I knew it was bad? When I know some Democrats that will say, I'll say, well, gas was never over $3 with Donald Trump. They'll say, oh, well, we have to pay for the war. It's Vladimir Putin. So they'd rather pay way more. Just as long as Trump's not in there, I'll pay $10 a gallon and blame it on Vladimir Putin instead of saying, yeah, it was better under Trump. They will never admit that.
Let's give some perspective. I actually have the numbers on that.
The numbers, guy?
The numbers. We got numbers.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie.
So let's go real quick.
I don't think it ever went over $3 under
All right.
Trump.
So under Biden, the average increase at the grocery store, 46.22% from from January 2020 to January 2024. So orange juice from $2.99 to $4.29. Eggs $1.49 to $3. That's a 100% increase. Chicken breast $4.99 to $7.99.
That's crazy.
Iceberg lettuce 99 cents to $1.49. That doesn't seem like a lot, but like all these things you add up, that's a 50.51% increase.
Hey, that adds up. Look at Dollar Tree. All of those are closing down.
Potatoes $2.99 to $4.49. Milk $2.99 to $4.49. Butter $3.99 to $5.49. Like guys, that's all these. I'm just saying, like 46.22% average increase. Y'all are getting a 3% average increase on your salaries.
You know when I knew it was bad? Lap dances at Silk were $10 under Trump. They are $40 now. It's getting bad out here. It's really getting bad.
And that's for the day squad.
It's probably $80 for the night. Yeah, I don't even want to. We don't even want to get.
That's why you go to the cigar lounge at night. You can't afford the night squad.
I can't. I cannot afford the night strippers. Jesus, things are bad, man. When the strippers are taxing, it's bad. It's bad.
They're trying to pay for their chicken breasts and their eggs
or their fake breasts.
Yeah,
one of the
one.
two.
One of them. One of the two. But all right, we digress. All right, so the point here being that you got to connect the dots. You can't say that you're against, billionaires and BlackRock and all these big companies, and at the same time vote for the people that are enabling them. You got to be able to connect the dots and not just get fed their media talking points. Got to get better at connecting the dots.
I think it's really hard to blame the general public for the way they vote when you don't have the right narrators. They've never had anyone really sit them down and put up simple numbers without going over their heads, because trig is hard, geometry can get kind of hard, but if 1 + 1 = 2. So I feel like if they had someone to sit them down and break it down, like maybe one day we can do a podcast where we can show numbers and show what they're voting against and what they're voting for, because it's hard to read a book in Spanish if you don't know how to speak the language.
Well, you're right. It is. And at the same point, you can't say, so I'll give another example. You can't say that you're against the military industrial complex and then get your heartstrings pulled to go to war with Ukraine and go to war again in Gaza and send our money over here.
No, you're right about that. That's where the brainwashing comes in.
But that's what I'm saying is like, you got to be able to connect the dots. So yes, we can like say the math is hard.
And it'll go right over their head once the brainwashing kicks in because they go against their own.
But connecting the dots with the media and going, okay, because Democrats vote with their hearts. Mm-hmm. That's why we call them bleeding heart liberals, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to think more critically. Mm-hmm. And go and be able to. So this is where your heart overrides your logic, and you got to step back out of your feelings for a minute and be like, wait, hold on. So I say that my heart and body and mind say that I'm against the military-industrial complex,
but I'm voting for wars.
But I'm voting for wars,
yeah.
and I'm putting I support Ukraine and I support Israel or I support Palestine in my profile picture.
Yeah,
you're a walking contradiction. You're like, okay, I hate billionaires and we should have the billionaire tax.
Yeah.
But then you're voting for people that are supporting BlackRock and funding BlackRock and supporting people that are doing this immigrant thing with the BlackRock housing.
It's the parallel. It's the parallel of two universes. It's called blind hatred. You can say, just like if I seen someone interview some people and say, what do you think about Donald Trump taking a shower with his 11-year-old daughter? They're like, oh, that's just sick. And then they'll turn around and say, well, actually, that was Joe Biden. Oh, she needed a loofah on her back. They'll make an excuse right away.
Yeah.
That's that blind hatred. It's like, if you said all of the things that Joe Biden said and you put Trump name attached to it, people would be outraged. But then it's just amazing how if all the things that Trump did, if Biden accomplished that, if he had black unemployment at its lowest and gave black universities the most money, passed the First Step Act, Democrats would be gloating about that.
They'd be like, this is the greatest president
ever. And then you look at Joe Biden. I ask people, what has he done for prison reform? He tried to signal that he would get rid of low-level marijuana offenses. Okay, that would be good if he did it on the state side where all young black men are caught. He did it for the federal where there's only like 200 people in the world that's been caught for that offense, a low-level
And why?
marijuana.
Because federal or prisons are owned by corporations.
Blackwater probably. They probably got
BlackRock probably.
BlackRock got some money in that.
We should look into that.
They
I
probably
bet
do.
BlackRock does own a bunch of federal prisons. Mm-hmm. Or at least has investments in them. Guaranteed, actually.
It's that blind hatred, man. So I get what you're saying. You could read that book to them nice and slow, and they move on emotions.
It's the feelings. And that's the same thing about the abortion vote.
Yeah.
Right. So, a lot of women in particular, liberal women, are vote on abortion, which I agree. People shouldn't be telling you what you should do with your body. And especially on the ectopic pregnancies or the incest or stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
That being said, that's like 1% of abortions.
And it's still hypocrisy though, because people don't play the game fair. I've seen a guy interview.
But then they tell us we got to get the jab.
Yeah.
So that's the hypocrisy, right? So you don't want us telling you what you do with your body, but you want to tell us what to do with
And
ours.
not only that, I saw a guy interview some women. They said, if a woman was pregnant and he punched her in the stomach and killed the fetus, should he go to jail for murder? They said yes. And then the guy turned around and said, what if a woman killed the fetus? Should she go to jail for murder? They say no. They want it both ways. Murder is murder. So it's a fetus now. If some guy punched her in the stomach, now it's a living person. It's a human now. But if she chooses to take the life, it's excusable. Murder is murder at the end of the day.
Well, same thing is like, okay, what would you feel about a woman that did heroin her whole pregnancy?
They'd be pissed off.
They'd be pissed
like,
off.
oh, she needs to go to jail.
The what?
The child.
The baby.
Yeah.
Now it's a baby.
Yeah. So.
Right. So you can't have it both ways. Now there should be some middle ground, right? Because conservatives are go too hard on this topic, and it's a below the line issue. I love Andy Frisella talks about below the line and above the line. This is a really good point. I used to talk about this in financial planning. I would talk about above the line being your vision, your mission, and your values, and below the line being all the tactical stuff. Andy Frisella puts it a little differently, and I think this is a really good way for people to think about it. Above the line issues are issues that affect all of us. And that's what we should put first and foremost in our voting. Like if we're doing a calculation about who we're going to vote for, we should put the above the line stuff first, the things that affect all of us. The economy, this immigration issue, taxes, health, whatever. Our youth that are, right?
Investing back,
infrastructure, right? Those things affect all of us. Abortion affects a tiny percentage, or even if you counted all women, it may account like one time in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a below the line emotional issue. Same thing with the LGBT thing. Same thing with how they try to drive racial tensions, because they try to drive emotion and they keep us distracted with the below the line stuff so that we don't focus on the above the line stuff that they're all f***ing us over on.
Yeah.
So that's where I think that's a really good picture to paint and thought process to go down is you got to vote on above the line stuff that affects all of us. And once we get that fixed, then we can argue about all the emotional, just kind of divisive stuff.
No one wants to be on a team nowadays. What you're talking about is a unified vote. But everyone has this.
No, it's a more thoughtful vote.
But I see what you're saying on that. But that's like looking out for everyone as a whole. But everyone nowadays want me, just my issue. I want this one issue over here. I want my issue.
Hence the reason we're in the problems we're in.
And it's going to continue
because it's
that
a
way.
Selfish vote. You're not thinking about. You want to say that you voting on abortion is about all women. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the conservative women that don't think like you think. You're not talking about the woman that was raped that chose to have her baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're not thinking about others. You're thinking about yourself and how you feel.
And a lot of people are lining their pockets that way. They're thinking about that financial group, that elite group, to keep that elite group up here. And they could care less about the common man. They could care less about the common man. So it's crazy, man. It is really crazy.
So, all right. The biggest thing I want everyone to get out of this on the immigration side is that people are profiting from it. And it's the people that don't need to and that we don't want to in BlackRock. And especially you Democrats, you don't want them to. You say it from your own mouths. You don't want these uber rich people
Look at who's look at actually the people that are profiting
with our taxpayer dollars.
The slumlords, the cartels. I mean, all of these elite, these hotels that had no type of, they weren't getting a lot of business. These things.
And who's getting hurt?
It's the minorities that's going to get hurt.
The black communities.
The black community get hurt the most, and just mediocre families in general, just the general public that's struggling right now, that gets no help. You know, that working mom that has to go to work and drop the kids off to her mother because she can't get assistance for childcare, and an immigrant can come right over here and get every assistance that they need. You know, they get whatever they want. And not only that, just being able to have a clean slate after years of bad credit and a bad criminal record, you can come to America and be rebooted as a brand new person. Got a different credit score, a different work history. Some places, I'm just looking at stuff they're giving to Ukraine and everyone else. They're giving benefits and all kind of pensions, and they're paying everything.
Right. Last thing I'll say on this, and this is, I should have started with this, but I want to talk about the BlackRock piece. So you know my brother Jordan, right?
Yes.
So his wife Margarita is from Colombia. Yeah. And it took her 7 years to earn her citizenship.
She did it the right way.
She did it the right way, but it took 7 years to earn a legal citizenship where these people are going to come through here illegally, cut the line in front of all these people that are trying to do it the right way, and get their citizenship so that Biden can get some more votes. Now, here's even more crazy. Her mom just got here to visit. Mm-hmm. That sounds normal, right? Except it took 9 years applying to the U.S. government the right way for a visa for her to visit her grandchildren.
Just to visit?
And denied for 9 straight years. What? Denied.
That doesn't make common sense.
Ask why.
Why?
Because they're afraid she'd stay here. That was the reasoning she was denied.
So she was better off sneaking in the country.
So someone that has a U.S. citizen daughter with grandchildren here can't visit from Colombia.
Unbelievable.
Because the U.S. government, for 9 years, she was denied.
Because she may not go back. But you jump a fence.
But you're going to let 20 million people in that you don't know who they are, didn't apply the right way, came from these prisons, came from these psych wards, and came from other countries where you haven't vetted them, they certainly weren't vaccinated, and anything else that you guys care about, and you're going to let them in, give them $1,500 a month housing, and enrich BlackRock. See, what the hell are you guys thinking?
And people only care when it hits them in the pockets. So imagine someone going to a bank and they had that mentality. You got a good job. They can check your work history and see how many loans you paid off. And then a guy that just forged some stuff and said, trust me, I want to apply for this and I want to get a $200,000 loan. They don't play that when it comes to money, but when it comes to human life, they're willing to gamble. There's a method to their madness. They're doing it for a specific reason, but they don't understand why legal foreigners that live here are so behind Trump and they're so against open borders because they went about it the right way. I get mad when someone cut in line at a restaurant, Just imagine someone cutting in line to get into this country, The same people that are rooting for open borders jump in front of their kids in line at a movie theater. Hey, buddy, get back here. What are you doing? Jumping in front of the line. They don't like how it feels for a damn simple movie. And now they want open borders. It's crazy, man. What is this world coming to?
That we need reform to allow people to come here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you do it the right way,
and,
work permits.
And by the way, the right way right now is way too. It shouldn't have taken Margarita 7 years. It shouldn't have taken my hairstylist from New Zealand 7-8 years.
But it's still hypocrisy. It's a specific group of people that they want coming over here, because I noticed when Haiti and Cuba try to have boat lifts, they turn them around. The Coast Guard will intercept them and stuff like that, because it seems a little racist that, we don't want all those Haitians. And, if an African country started flooding America, you would see a different type of border control. They don't want
Venezuelans are just as bad as the
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm talking about from the gangs, if that was their justification.
Yeah. But I just noticed when Haiti and these African countries start trying to load up, and Cuba and stuff like that, they have a different response of turning those people back but I don't know what was going on. I think they didn't take account how bad the MS-13 guys and stuff would be and how quick they would assemble their gangs over here and how organized they would be. It kind of caught them off guard. And New York's dealing with that right now. America's dealing with that right now.
Yep. Haitian gangs, that MS-13 stuff.
Yeah.
They don't around.
They don't around. They don't around. And they organize
Crips and Bloods
quick.
don't even mess with them.
No. No.
And Republicans and Democrats. Hey, which one's the Crips? Which one's the Bloods?
Which one? The Republicans.
They say vote blue, so they got to be the
Crips.
Crips.
Yeah.
So Democrats got to be the Crips and Republicans are the Bloods.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Those are the real gangbangers. Real deal.
They're the ones stealing all the money and controlling us and trying to control us even further. We just got to wake up. More and more got to wake up, I should say. Yokes and I are fully woke.
We are. We are.
All right. What do we got on the presidential election? This will be our last topic because it's a hot topic this year, obviously. And then we'll get into some positive leadership going on.
What I've been noticing is a lot of Republicans are panicking because Donald Trump has a shot to win. And those establishment Republicans are like Lindsey Graham trying to bring up this abortion thing. And you got Alabama trying to get rid of artificial, the embryos being inserted in women and stuff like that. Bringing that stuff up right now is only adding fuel to the flame for the Democratic Party. I'd say most Republican politicians don't want Trump back because
they know their game is over.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is no politician should be able to go into office as a normal, middle-class citizen and come out worth $100 million.
Exactly.
And any of you that are voting for someone that has enriched themselves in office, Pelosi, Schumer, Lindsey Graham, McConnell, all of them. Like, what are you thinking?
It's tough.
I'll answer for you. You're not thinking. You're either lazy and you're voting for the same person that you've always voted for, or you're voting with your heart and letting them lie to you because they're enriching themselves and leaving us destitute. Or leaving you destitute. We're going to be all right because we know how to make $1. In this studio anyhow.
That's true. I really wonder. I think you're on to some. 90% of the people are voting with emotions and they just don't have a clue. And a lot of people that's like are the spokespeople. They have no clue what ordinary life is about. I see Bill Maher and look at all the late night TV show hosts.
Bill Maher's coming, like he's starting to do, like he hates Trump, but you hear him like he's starting to turn.
Reality's setting in, but he still has this thing. Like he said, shut up, the economy's great. And they're pumping up Joe Biden's economy, but they're not looking at ordinary people who can't afford.
Hold on. Let's give some people some numbers real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so they said 300,000 jobs created in March.
Yeah.
Right? 75, they didn't tell you 75,000 were government jobs. They didn't tell you 75,000 were
I didn't even know that. So half of those numbers were propped up and so what's 75? So over a quarter of that number in March is not even, like, I don't even know how you can count government jobs because the government doesn't produce revenue. We do. Yeah.
And the government steals from us to pay them. So you can't count those as jobs.
Those are numbers to pad the stats. And a lot of the numbers were coming for jobs that people just decided to go back to after COVID. So it's not new job creation.
Counting people that are working 2 jobs, they don't do that either. Yeah. But that's the thing is they're voting on emotion and not thinking at all.
But I do think a lot of people aren't falling for the banana in the tailpipe trick because you can tell a person everything is all right. But when you feel pain, when your credit card debt is at the highest it's ever been. So you can't get around that. You can smudge all the numbers you want. But at the end of the day, when people go to those grocery stores, they feel it in their pocketbook. When you look at your savings account and there's nothing in it, I don't care how big of a Biden fan you are. It's going to come to a point where you say, hey, look, it's either famine or feed myself, or I'm going to have to break down and go back and vote for Donald Trump because I was way better off under him than now. It's bad now.
I'll even repeat myself that I said, numerous times before is I'm not a huge Trump fan, but I'm using my brain and saying he seems to be the option now. Yeah. And if I'm wrong, we boot him in 4 years. Well, he'd have to be anyhow. And I say Trump, go and do what you said, get these people out, arrest these corrupt people, do what you said you were going to do the first time.
Yeah.
And if you don't, we arrest you and get someone in there that's actually going
to. Trump can get it too. He can get kicked out of there too. And he can't lay down with the same backstabbers that he did the first go around,
agreed.
you know, and he can't.
But I'm just saying, I'm giving myself as an example to think with my head, not with my heart.
Yeah. Because I know you're not a Trump guy. You're not a Trump guy.
I think there's a much better leadership to be done with unity in particular.
Yeah.
And that's where we need black and white America to come together and get this corruption out.
Yeah.
And especially against some of the illegals coming here, because the ones that do it the right way, they're some of our best workforce, some of our best business owners.
I know a lot of people get caught up on not liking Trump, but it all starts with cleaning up a mess. You can't just unify stuff with criminals. You got to call it out. And I think that's what Trump did. You know, you can't just hold hands and sing Kumbaya and knowing that Lindsey Graham, Trump was he kind of held hands with the Lindsey, but he's calling these people out now. So I think you got to clean house before you can unify. You have to have people on the other side that's willing to step up and say, I can't be pushing these bad ideas, you know, and that's hard to do because when you're on a team, everyone plays for a team and they don't want to unify. Like you say, all of these people that will smile in your face and supposed to be against anti-war, but they said, look at the vote. They support the wars. I like a stand-up person.
The money.
Yeah. And I don't care who you don't like. If it's a Democrat that doesn't sign up for a senseless war, I will clap, I will applaud. When you do something good, there's no game that you can be in. There's no Crip blood, Democrat, Republican. Right is right, wrong is wrong. I am anti-war. And if Trump start wars, I would be the first one to say, I don't rock with him. I just don't. Any Republican, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but anyone who, I love Dennis Kucinich, Democrat. Russ Feingold, Democrat. Phil Donahue. Every Democrat that stood up against the Iraqi war, I applaud all of them. You know, I applaud them. So if you anti-war, I don't care what party you're from, I am anti-war. So
I rock with Rand Paul all day.
Oh, he's great.
But all right, so let's get to some good leadership, because this is going to be a new segment that we do, because frankly, E and I were tired of just talking about all the bad leadership going on. So we're going to add a new segment where we're talking about some good leadership. And this example comes to you from Argentina. And Milei, I think is how his name's pronounced, Javier Milei. So here's some of the things that Argentine President Javier Milei, during an interview with Bloomberg, emphasized. So number one, implementation of free market policies to address economic challenges. For those that don't know, when you implement free market challenges or free market policies, that allows for competition, healthy competition. So you know how the government's kind of pissed off at Apple right now because they got a monopoly here on phones, essentially? Free market allows competition. All right. Number two, reduction of government intervention in the economy. Milei reduced size of government. I don't know the percentage, but he reduced 70,000 plus jobs.
We could take a page out of his policies.
Right away.
Yes.
Right away. So my libertarian friends are applauding this dude to the hills because he's come in with his crazy hair and, good head of hair.
He's got good hair.
Good head of hair.
Kind of like me.
With that salt and pepper. This dude in here calling himself Idris Elba earlier. I was like, we'll let the women decide if you get that thrown or not. All right, number three, cutting taxes to stimulate economic growth and investment. No. Hey, you know what's interesting, before I move on with a few of these, is so you know how Democrats say that, trickle-down economics doesn't work and Republicans are full of
Right.
Okay. Well, they subscribe to the same belief, just in a different way.
Oh, they think
that trickle-down is going to happen from the government.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Well, if that was the case, wouldn't it be happening now because the government pulls in over $11 trillion per year from us?
Man,
to the tune of 72 grand per taxpayer.
Jesus Christ.
So wouldn't that mean, or shouldn't that mean, if trickle-down economics worked from the liberal standpoint, that each taxpayer should be making at least 72 grand?
I think it really works for other countries. Our government helps out other countries better than they help out America.
Bingo. All right. I just wanted to bring that up, is that if you think that you don't believe in trickle-down economics, you believe it. You're just thinking about the government's going to trickle it down to you, when in actuality, our government is enriching themselves.
And other countries.
Because
Israel gets free health care, and they get a lot of school stuff.
The drag queen Zelensky.
And Ukraine gets a lot of money. So,
all right, number 4, Milei, deregulation of industries to foster entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is the lifeblood of any country. I work with entrepreneurs all day, and they're some of the most generous, ingenious individuals and diverse individuals in our country.
You need entrepreneurs.
They create the jobs.
We would be China if we didn't have entrepreneurs and freedom of invention.
You should be doing everything possible to deregulate, to cut the red tape for entrepreneurship in any country if you want it to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, prioritization of fiscal discipline to control government spending. All right, let me give you a quick example here. I have a buddy that's building an office downtown Madison, and it already exists, so it's not a brand new building. So he had his architect draw up some blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
He mails those in, and they're on an 8.5 by 11, but all the dimensions are there.
It didn't meet regulations.
They said, "It's too small, sir. Can you blow this up?" He calls back and says, "Well, the dimensions are there, so you get." They're like, "Yeah, but it's on too small of a piece of paper."
Wow.
And he goes, "But the dimensions are there, so
right.
You know exactly what we're doing, so you can approve it or not approve it." And he said, "Well, we can't approve it until you get us on a bigger piece of copy." So he gets his architect to draw up. Now it's on 11 by 17 or whatever they dictated.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact size they wanted. And he goes down to the city hall or wherever he had to go to drop it off. And they still got their plexiglass up from COVID. And he goes, they're all standing behind the plexiglass. You can, they're drinking coffee and talking to each other.
Surprised they're not masked up, pulling their mask
off. They probably were. And so he rings the bell or whatever, waits for him to get, or maybe even cleared his throat to get their attention. And one of them comes to the plexiglass and says, "Do you have an appointment?" He goes, "No, I'm just here to drop this off because you said it was too small, or someone said it was too small. I just need to drop this off." And they're like, "Well, you need an appointment."
Jesus.
So he had to go back, make an appointment.
This sounds like a comedy skit.
And then when he gets the appointment, gets it finally done to him, now they're, by that time, 3 weeks later, there's something else going on at his building that takes more precedence from the one person in the city that can put his stamp of approval on his document so that he can proceed and get the subcontractors in to do the work that needs to be done.
Jesus Christ.
So when you think about fiscal discipline and control, so here's the thing for me is we all know that government is the most inefficiently ran thing possible.
Yeah.
Why do we accept it? Why do we accept that as a normal? These are our hard-earned dollars that they're spending. Shouldn't they be the most efficient? Shouldn't we demand that they're the most efficient things? That whether it's at the state, whether it's at the city level, whether it's at the federal level, that should be the most efficiently ran, smoothly ran organization possible.
But it's the worst. Because
you're dealing with other people's money. It's not your money.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that we know from the state level. Maybe y'all don't know, but I know. Let's say I'm in charge of a parks department.
Mm-hmm.
And last year my budget was $500,000.
Right.
And so I get towards the end of the year and I see that we've spent $400,000 on salary and projects and whatever. And I know that we have a $100,000 gap. Those federal people or those state people will go and spend that $100,000 because they know they won't get that back next year.
So they just spend it on frivolous anything we got to spend it instead.
We got to spend it, otherwise we won't get $500,000 next year.
Yeah. God, that.
So again, instead of preserving, think about this: if I lent you money with the intent that you're going to have to pay me back, are you not going to be the most prudent?
I'm going to be responsible
person possible because you're dealing with other people's money.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just interesting to me that we've accepted this as a norm, that our government, our state, and our locals are the most inefficiently ran possible organizations. And yet we continue to vote for that and don't demand better for ourselves.
I think it's ran that way by design because I see how efficient they are when you owe them money. you can't get away with
No
nothing.
doubt it's written by design. I'm questioning why we accept it.
We accept that all around the board. I look at construction workers where they could fix a street in 2 days. They'll take 3, 4, 5 months just to extend it and prolong it to milk that
the paycheck, right? Yeah. So, all right. I just want to chime in there on that because I'm so sick of us accepting not even mediocrity, just work from people that we fund their payroll. We fund their salary. Their lifestyle depends on us continuing to earn $1. And yet they're the most disrespectful people possible with our money.
Yeah. I hear those guys talk. Sometimes you'll see them at lunch. And if you knew how the sausage was made with these government jobs, you'd be like, whoa, this is how they do it. So that's a ugly painting right there.
Milei is also going to promote entrepreneurship to drive innovation and job creation. Novel thought. I just spoke about that earlier. He's also number 7, restoration of confidence in the Argentine economy to attract investments.
So what are you thinking about investments? He talking about from outside countries and stuff like that?
Yeah.
He's doing a good job, man.
Yeah.
He's doing a really good job.
And number 8, opposition to inflationary monetary policies. Wow. You want to keep inflation down for your people? Sounds novel.
Who is this, the Pope?
Biden must hate this dude. Biden's like, you're ruining my reputation.
It's going to be a coup over there soon.
Probably like Brazil. Advocacy for adopting a stable currency to combat inflation and restore purchasing power. That's important for any
So what
nation.
is he talking about right there?
So what he's talking about right there is making sure that their currency is as strong as possible and not fluctuating so much so that they have purchasing power across lines. So for instance, Canada's dollar isn't worth as much as our dollar.
And our dollar's about to be the peso soon, so I get what you're saying.
Or Mexican dollar's not worth it, or peso isn't worth as much as our dollar.
Yeah.
So they don't, when you make 100,000 pesos, that's not nearly as much as 100,000 US dollars.
So they're trying to keep
So Argentina is trying to get their currency as stable as possible and as strong as possible to restore purchasing power across country lines.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right. So you think about Biden depleting our strategic oil reserve. You think about Biden with the inflation that we got going on, where our dollar doesn't go far enough in our own country, let alone across country lines. So all these different things that have been done to hurt our economy in the last 4 years, Milei in Argentina is doing the exact opposite, and you will see a strong economy out of Argentina or long term if this continues.
And a lot of people probably don't understand the dollar used to be international, a powerhouse, the top currency. And you look at the China's and somebody said they're not even printing dollars anymore. Someone went back to their own currency and the ruble is taking off. So
in India,
our stuff is just going downhill.
And it's purposeful because if you ruin America, then they can most easily take over the world with a new world order and have one currency, which, by the way, China's never going to get in with that.
No.
So you're just screwing over the rest of us to empower our supposed enemy. And Russia neither. Russia's never going to get on board with that. So anyhow, we wanted to give you a good example of leadership, and we're going to continue to talk through good examples of leadership because, again, we're sick of just pointing out the bad. There is good stuff happening across the world, and as much as the bad stuff is put into our face by our media, because, again, they know if it bleeds, it leads. Their job is to get eyeballs to the screen so that they can sell more advertisements. Talked about that before. Hopefully you guys know that by now.
You've just made my homework that much harder because going out to find good leaders is going to be hard, man. But I'm going to go look for it and find
even if it's not a good leader, if there's a good leadership decision made, right? So we can highlight that. Like even if Biden actually made a good leadership decision, we could highlight that.
It's so tough because I was watching some stuff that's going on in Haiti right now. And the world is so corrupt when you have warlords that are doing more for their country than their presidents. We are in troubled times.
Well, so what the news won't show you either is, do you see the protest in Brazil?
No, didn't see
Millions.
Really? Boy,
they wouldn't show it because if you guys weren't following Brazil,
I have not saw that.
No, because they're hiding it.
Jesus.
But if you guys haven't followed Brazil at all, so they had a coup in their election where it was cheated. So Bolsonaro was the by far favorite, and they rigged the election against him. And now Bolsonaro's in prison. It's like the exact same play what's happening to Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the people are pissed. And so there's hundreds of thousands, reportedly millions.
They want him back though, don't they?
They want Bolsonaro.
Yeah.
They want it, and they're making their voices heard. But this corrupt government down there is hiding, and our corrupt government is hiding what's happening down there because they don't want us doing the exact same thing. And they know that the people are the power when we can come together. And that's why they try to divide us. That's why they're not showing us what's happening in Brazil. Because they retain the power when we're divided, when we're fighting about stupid shit like skin color and abortion and gun control and everything else.
It shows you how crafty politicians are in our United States government, because they've seen the big picture and they've had a trial run of anarchy, Armageddon. They were looking like, if we can control their weapons, their arms, and if there was like an uprising for, just say if people had an uprising for Trump, they know what weapons work. They know COVID can put people in their place. That's why they're steadily continuing to find COVID strands that can pretty much knock you on your ass but not kill you, because if everyone was out in the streets marching and protesting, they will send another wave of COVID. What did COVID do? Make you go straight home, not want to protest? Everything is done. So COVID was designed. It was put out here for a reason. It's just it's a weapon. It's a chemical weapon that can control the masses of people. So Bill Gates is behind it, and it's just a tangled web we weave.
Talk about that evil human being some other time. But we're out of time today. We'll end on a positive note talking about President Milei. Man,
Javier.
I'm gonna figure out what we're talking. We know it's Javier. Argentinian president. Man is doing some good things.
Yes, he is.
So we'll leave it on that. So all of you Spartans listening in today, make sure you share these episodes, because we're about awakening some minds and having some great dialogue. It's not easy dialogue, right? And E and I don't agree on everything, and we'll continue to bring in people with differing opinions at us as well, because we like having these conversations. They're not easy to have, but they're also necessary to have. We got to be able to talk about the tough stuff, and we got to be able to awaken people's minds to the game that our government is playing on us. We are more alike than we are different.
And always follow the 3 Ds. You can have a discussion. You can disagree, but don't disown.
We gotta trademark that for you.
Yeah, that's
E original right there.
The triple Ds.
The triple Ds. With that being said, remember, Spartans, that good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.